Chappelle's doing. But it's not really about Chappelle today. It's about the state of Texas. As we said the other day, the state of Texas pulled the LGBTQ suicide prevention hotline from their website, and now Texas is essentially eliminating trans athletes' access to sports. And they've done this in the last 3 legislative sessions. 40 bills, 40 have been introduced that limit trans kids' access to sports and health care. And it's obviously just, insane. So I, through a friend, I ran into our next guest. She is the current Miss New York 2021, but she's really an activist for people like the LGBTQA, people that are disenfranchised and are just trying to get some basic things. And she's written a great thing I read in Newsweek, and she's nice enough to join us here on KGO. Her name is Sydney Park. Hello, Sydney.
Hey, Chip. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for spending the time with us. First of all, thank you for your advocacy. I think it's important to have people that are outside of LGBTQ speak to this. When I say outside, meaning that everyone that doesn't identify, I'm putting my foot in my mouth here. I don't know if you identify or not. What I'm trying to say is, I think we need this kind of advocacy from everybody, because these are people that are marginalized. That for every story we see of a 250-pound guy that says that he wants to play a girl's sport. I mean, that's not the normal case. And, again, these are just young people trying to do it. How did you get involved, by the way?
So I got involved because I am a youth soccer coach right here in New York. I coach in the Bronx and I coach in Harlem, and I grew up playing sports, and sports were such an important aspect of my childhood, an important thing that I did growing up that really taught me a lot of important skills. And so as I got older and I started learning about these different ways that state legislatures were excluding certain kids from participating in sports in a meaningful way that allowed them to learn those same skills, I realized that I had to use my voice in order to advocate for them, because I know that sports can have such a positive impact for kids if we provide them with the supportive and safe spaces to do so.
And sports is such a great way to cross these racial and other lines where we can, like if you're sitting at a ball game and your home team is doing well and you high five the person sitting across from you, you don't know their politics, you don't care about their skin color or their religion. It's such a great unifier, It
really is. It's one of those universal things. I think you could talk to any person on the street who has a story about the time they were 6 or 7 years old playing a sport that they got to grow up playing, and it's a really universal experience for so many young people.
So what kind of pushback is happening in Texas right now? I mean, the governor's expected to sign this bill into law this week, I think tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. And what does that mean? And will other states follow Texas's lead, probably?
Well, so let me give you a little bit of background. This past year of 2020 and 2021 has been the worst legislative year on record for the LGBTQ plus community. There's been over 300 bills introduced that target this community, and more than 150 of those bills target trans folks. And 100 of those 150 bills target kids in sports directly. And Texas is actually only going to become the 10th state to sign a trans youth sports ban into law. So not only is Texas doing it, 9 other states have done it as well. And so we're seeing this onslaught of an attack against trans kids who really just want to have the experience as any other kid of getting to play on a team with their friends.
Yeah, I think about this. Did you ever see the movie Bird Magic about Larry Bird and Magic Johnson?
I have not.
Oh, you got to see it. It will rip your heart out. It was right after Magic announced he was HIV positive. And the whole league was like, I don't want to be near him. I don't want to play with him. And so what does Larry Bird, this hick in Indiana, a self-described hick in Indiana, invites Magic to his house with his mom. And I think they stayed there for I want to say 2 weeks. And he just brought him into his life. And it's it was on HBO. If you hunt it down, I guarantee you watch it. It'll blow you away. But it just goes to show you, and this is something that I have to be aware of, it's not just blue states that care about people. It's all over. There are great people in all these states, including Texas, and that we just have to energize them, have to somehow get them to realize that they can make a difference in these people's lives.
Right. And what's crucial to remember is that so many of these bills are targeting kids and they're targeting young people. And I think that's something that is really important because we all want what's best for young people. We all want what's best for kids, and providing safe sports is one of the best things that we can possibly do for our children.
So, yeah, I guess the best way we could possibly do something for the people who, that are so adamant about this legislation, is to expose them to, the hardships that these kids want to do. I mean, again, most of the kids, and I saw this in LGBTQ Nation, it's an online thing, and I was reading this article, most of these kids that want to play sports, they're not like super exceptional athletes. You'll hear about one or two that are, but for the most part, they just want to compete. They just want to, again, and they're already dealing with one of the most difficult things a person can go through, which is, being born with certain genitalia, but, everything in your mind and body, and even in some cases, your genetic code indicates that, that's not who you are. And having to fight that and then fight the rest of society. I mean, have you had any contact from LGBT the community and other groups and things that we can do?
Right. I work very closely with an organization called Athlete Ally. They are working across the country to help advocate for the LGBTQ plus community in so many different spaces. I think one of the most heartbreaking things that I've seen out of these Texas legislative sessions were watching 8-year-olds and 10-year-olds tell their stories about being a trans kid in Texas and having to advocate for themselves in front of adult legislators who are trying to take away their right to sports from them. And I think having to watch those children have to stand up for themselves in such a way is so heartbreaking, because we shouldn't be denying children the right to a childhood. We should be giving them full access to that in a safe and supportive way.
Yeah, I think that's true, and I think it's, again, if we just had more exposure, when you talk to people and you hear their story and you see what they're going through, to realize that, to let them play on the same softball field or basketball court with others. There's a lot more important stuff. I mean, we're talking, by the way, to Sydney Park, Miss New York 2021, who is an advocate for and supporting LGBTQ youth in sports, despite what, 40 bills been introduced to limit trans kids' access around the country. I know that's just in Texas. But
and at the end of the day, youth sports is not about who's the best. At the end of the day, it's not about who comes in first or who wins. Youth sports at the end of the day are about developing kids on the field and giving them the ability to lose in a safe place, the ability to win, the ability to learn different skills, learn how to be great teammates and good leaders. And so when we provide those really inclusive and accepting spaces, we give them the tools to build those life sets that are going to help them throughout their lives, even after they're done with sports.
I think that's why this Ted Lasso is such a successful show, right? Have you seen it?
I love Ted Lasso.
Oh, I mean, how can you not, right? And it's everything that sports. When I watched that, you know what it made me? I said, God, I wish it was more like that when I was a coach, because I coached for like 12 years. And, I mean, it was such a great, and he's a flawed character, blah, blah, blah. But it was great stuff. Well, you know what, Cindy? I got to tell you, everybody that wins, whether it's Miss USA or Miss Universe or Miss New York, they always say, we're going to work for world peace. Well, you're actually doing it, and and you're getting out there. So thank you so much for your time, and keep this up and keep us in touch, okay?
Thank you so much, Chip. Thanks for having me on.
You be well. Thank you. And again, that is Sydney Park, Miss New York.